We're now going to turn our attention to some grassroots rugby, and of course, it's been a very difficult year for rugby in general, but also so much more for grassroots rugby. We're going to welcome Mark in now. He is from Flint Rugby Club up in North Wales, not too far away from where I am. I'm going to chat to him a little bit about that now. Mark, good evening. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on. How are you doing?
Yeah, good evening, Are you okay, everybody?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you again so much for coming on to chat about it. Tell us a little bit about Flint Rugby Club. What kind of club are you?
We're a grassroots junior club established in the late 60s. Real big heritage in the sort of northeast Clwyd area. Lots of history of players going on to represent internationals. Got Avon Bagshaw, who went on, who's RGC fullback, and sevens and under 20s, probably our last of our players to establish themselves at international level. And we've got, going back into the 80s, with several players that have played at a high standard. So yeah, really a hotbed of rugby, and a really sort of an entrenched community club. Started up in Holkin, in a small village outside of Flint, and has more from the mountains to the sea over the last 50 years. So yeah, really a real positive hub of the community up in Flint.
Yeah, and it's so important, the community, isn't it? That connection, because sometimes when you watch rugby, you watch them on the TV and you think, oh, they're so far away, but the community aspect just brings people together. And I find that, even here in North Wales where we are, it's still so integral to the community. People think of the valleys and think of the rugby clubs and the community there. I know from your experience, Trian, that the rugby club and the community in your area is very important.
It's integral, and I think that's it. Every one of our international players originally came from a small club somewhere, and I think in Wales it is inherent part of the community, and again, Flint, that area again has a mining legacy, so you have that sort of the miners were always encouraged to play rugby, and then you have the big guys who played, who had a work ethos as well as a playing ethos. And I think it's so important, and this is where, and I'm sure you'll expand on this, is this big gap now. Are we going to lose those kids? Are we going to lose people because they can't play rugby? And they I know WRU have expanded the season now until May for the community games. Where do you think that what's your hook in Flint to keep the kids and the youngsters engaged while we're going through this yet another lockdown?
Yeah, I mean it's really difficult, and it's obviously for all amateur clubs at the moment. Obviously, I think I was talking to Brandon earlier today, just in prepping for tonight's show. I think we last played a game as a senior team in our first team at the end of February, where we beat our local rivals Mold seconds, which is important for us to say. It's almost 11 months since we last took to the field. We had gone through a real spell of across 2019 and into 2020, and really started to generate some interest about regaining a juniors and a minis section at Flint, which we'd had a little bit of hiatus for a number of years. We'd had some really good taster sessions, really good engagement from local schools, and it was going to be a real positive year, and restarting our minis and juniors. And obviously that's the pandemic has really halted that. So it's a real big challenge to ensure that we keep our community presence. Social media has been really helpful, ensuring that we've done lots of stuff as a committee, as a club. I think, as talking to Brandon earlier on, we've really sort of put ourselves in the mix and raised a lot of money for charity locally. So the community's done a lot for us over the years with players, and I think it's a real committee decision and a club decision to put a lot back into the community over the last 8 or 9 months.
Yeah, and that is really important, isn't it? Because you've managed to that keeps everything moving, and it keeps you in the focus of the community, and I think that's extremely important going forward. And hopefully, when you can start training again, that the youngsters. Your senior teams, I suppose, are pretty well. They're pretty keen, but it's those youngsters, isn't it? And the minis, and I guess that you've got quite same as South Wales now. You've got quite hefty competition from football.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's I think the competition from lots of sports. From football and other sort of non-traditional sports that are starting to grow as well. But I think it'll almost be a bit of a line in the sand for everybody. It's almost going to be 12, maybe 15, 16 months before we maybe start recalibrating into normal time. So I think it's a good opportunity to really sort of promote the sport again. So we've been, our committee at Flint have been working tireless behind the scenes to start to think about that, thinking about pitch development, thinking about making sure that we're in a good place, ready to go whenever we're going to take to the field. And obviously that's a bit of an unknown at the moment. We've obviously had a little bit of glimpses of non-contact, social distancing, COVID safe training, which and now obviously that's dropped off again. So we're in that really precarious position. But I think for us, we made the real decision that we needed to do something for the community, keep ourselves as the hub of the community, and we've raised about £2,500 over the pandemic for different causes, for the local hospital, for a local nursing home, providing some smart TV, so they could sort of watch their programs and interact with their families. We linked up with Roland Phillips while he was doing his virtual row. We rode some miles for him around Wales, again raising some more money. And I think one of the really good things about our club is that we really look after our old boys and our old players. We've got like a really successful WhatsApp group, which ensures in time of isolation that a lot of our old guys can talk about past victories, past social events, which I probably couldn't talk about much on here, but you can imagine there's some fun times. So I think it's we're a real good community club, and I think we're not being able to play at the moment, but the integral bit is keeping that camaraderie, that rugby family together, and I think that's what we're trying to promote at Flint. And it's difficult times. Obviously, lots and lots of clubs across the nation are struggling financially. And that's we're a part of that, but we've managed to cut our cloth really well. So we're in probably a bit of a positive position in respect of that. So it's our view to try and help others over this period, and just wait really just to spring back whenever COVID parts, so we getting vaccinations, whoever it might be.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's so good that you are so keen and feel so able to support others, because a lot of people would say, right, we are struggling and we need to look after ourselves, but you're reaching out, which is incredible. I am interested to know about the support that you received from the Welsh Rugby Union. Can you talk to us a little bit about the support you've had?
Yeah, we've had a number of grants from the WRU over this period, and we're really grateful to the union for providing that, and that's been able to make sure that we can pay off some initial bills. So I think for us, we're fairly steady club. So we've been at a position, not like some other clubs where they've really been in a real financial struggle. But again, the money from the union has been really grateful just to tide us over and ensure that we can we can turn up on a pitch, and hopefully April, May, June, wherever it might be. So yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that the union would like to have probably rolled out more and more finances, but it's a lot of clubs, senior clubs, junior clubs across the country, as well as other other issues that people have got to fund. So yeah, really positive, and thanks for the union for that.
Definitely. And finally, what are your hopes for 2021? Really, I guess getting back on the field in some capacity is surely what it is.
Yeah, I certainly think from a Flint perspective, it's we've got some plans about ensuring that we get some pitch developments, our juniors, I think getting that back online, and yeah, getting our senior teams back on the pitch, getting involved back in competitive rugby in Division 3 North is going to be is what our sights are set on really, and just getting back to do what we all love, playing rugby union. At the moment, just And you know, we're talking about the suspension end of the professional game at some level. It's even the bits on the Saturday afternoon you can sit down for a beer and watch, even that's been taken away from us. So yeah, times are hard, but it's about focusing on the future. We've got a really tight knit community at Flint Rugby Club, real community focus. And you know, when it's time to go, we'll be ready to go. You know, and I just think it's about ensuring that we, you know, that we promote that across our community and within our club.